Hola, mi gente. You are listening to Dancing into Parenthood, the Entre la Familia series, where Latinos get to hear our stories about raising our children with special needs. I am your host, Dr. Divina Lopez, board certified pediatrician for over 10 years and mom to a little boy with autism and ADHD. My motherhood journey has been my greatest inspiration to creating this podcast because when it comes to our community, we have unique circumstances that we keep entre la familia that we need to share and no longer keep quiet about. On this show, I will give you the tools, information, and strategies to raising a happy and healthy human being. Each week, I am connecting you with other Latino families who have generously shared their personal journeys and struggles so that you can have clarity and insight on what it takes to raise such a special child. Before the episode starts, I want to remind you to follow us on social so you don't miss out on all the support I love to share with you. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok at Dr. Divina Lopez, and any place that you hang out on the internet. Also, I can't wait to start the parent sessions. We're starting group parent sessions, and I want you to be there. I want to help guide you if you are struggling with parenthood, if you don't have support, if you're insecure about the choices that you're making for your child, if you just want to get it right for your child, then I encourage you to join the 12-week program where we will meet once a week and I will teach you how to advocate for your child, how to navigate the medical system, how to navigate the educational system, where to find your support system, and how to build healthy family relationships so we can break those toxic cycles, create boundaries with family members, and also learn to love ourselves through it all. All right, mi gente, I want to see you there. So make sure that you go to my website and that you drop your email in there. That way you are the first to know when the group sessions start. Now let's get into the episode. There is something that I want to talk about because I see this all the time in the Latino community. When I do developmental screens with the parents and I ask them like how many words do they say, and are they starting to like put some words together to form sentences and stuff like that. There is this form of denial that happens in the community, and I'm going to call it out. And I've already called it out on another video, but this is huge. And when we were talking ourselves, we both talked about this. And so you're seeing it, I see it. It's real. It's not just me.
Yeah.
It's not just me, right?
No.
So I was like, oh, when you said it, I was like, yes, breath of fresh air, because I'm like, hello, people, wake up and smell the coffee. This is not at all helpful for your child. When you
No.
come to me and you tell me, yes, they say 50 words and they're saying sentences, but is it meaningful, right? Does it have anything to do with what we're talking about right now or anything like that? Like the scripting and the echolalia is a speech delay. Like this is a speech delay. And this is one that my son, who's so high functioning, that everybody was like, oh my God, he's like a genius. He's a genius because at that time, when he was like 2, 3, 4 years old, this kid could memorize a script about the solar system, about dinosaurs, and adults would be like, whoa,
Wow. Right.
this kid is so smart. Oh my God. And he's still, I mean, the stuff he comes up with, I'm like, where did you hear this stuff, Papi? Because like he picks up these words and he knows how to use them, it sounds like, right? According to that subject. But then if you're trying to talk to him about other things, like the kid will only give you, oh yeah, everything's good, because he can't really say anything else, right? So, I want parents to pay attention to that, right? Like, is your child just saying the same words over and over and over again? Because the scripting in my house happened over and over, and it still does. I have to tell him, like, Papi, you told me that. I know you're excited about this. I know
Yeah.
you want to talk about this again and again and again, but at this point, I could also word for word spit it back out to you because I've heard it this many times, right? So these are things we need to pay attention to
Yeah.
in our child's development. Like, are they using the language appropriately and having meaningful back and forth
Right.
conversations with somebody? Because people will tell me yes, and I'm like, okay, is it what I'm hearing right now in the office? Because it just sounds like a song on repeat. It's like a broken record, right? And that broken record and that broken record, and you're counting those as 50 words.
Right.
Let's put the whole picture together, from that point of view. Is this real language for you or not, right? Like, can
Right.
they talk to the grandparents? Can they talk to other kids? Anything
Other
like
kids,
that, right?
right? Their teachers, can they tell you about their day at school? Like even the nonsense. Oh, so and so got into an argument with so and so. You know what I
The
mean?
cheese man. Like,
Right.
tell me
The
something.
the fifth grade chisme. Are they able to tell you that?
Yeah.
And it's so sometimes with the denial because it's hard. It is very hard. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's easy to accept that your child has a diagnosis because no parent wants a label because myself, you fear the other people like not giving your kid a chance. At least for me, that was my thing. Like I was
Yeah.
very selective of who I even told because I'm like, all right, I
Yeah.
already know they're gonna start saying my kid can't do this, not giving him a chance. So
Yeah.
I understand that's hard, but at some point, this denial stage, like you have to surpass that because if you do not, then your child is going to suffer because you're not going to be able to get them the help that they need because
Yeah.
you're in denial, you
Yeah.
know? And I see it a lot. I see it in the
Mhm.
schools a lot. I
A
get these
lot.
kids and on paper it's like, "Oh, mom said he knows XYZ and he does XYZ." And then I see this child and it could go either way. They're either
Yes.
not presenting like that at all or they're much better than the paper. I always like to meet the child before making
Yourself.
any
Yeah.
assumptions.
Yeah.
But recently I've been noticing that a lot and I'm like, what is going on?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
why is
Yeah.
mom saying this and it's not the case or whatever? And
Yeah.
I know that there is a level of denial,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. It's so real. And when it happens, it breaks my heart for the child because I know that's going to delay things for them. And then myself, as a professional, then I have to intervene and have a hard talk with the parents, and also let them know that there's just so many possibilities, right? And it's okay, and if you need help, I can help you with that, right? Because sometimes the parents also, um they deny it for certain reasons, whether that's something in the family, if they're afraid to break the news, or and you don't have to break the news to anybody, right? But sometimes, just even within a partnership, one parent is really like not going to accept it, and it makes things hard on the relationship and stuff like that, and I get it. But for me, again, like, I will always stress how important it is to get things addressed early on, and starting a therapy, whether it's occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical, anything like that, it doesn't have to feel so shameful. And actually, it's becoming more of like normal, almost trendy at this point.
yeah,
Um, and and I just want people to understand how important it is for you to not allow your own um I mean, yeah, they are your emotions and stuff like that, but don't allow your fear to get in the way of your child's development, because these are really important years, and you're never going to get them back, right?
no,
We can never go backwards. We
you're
can
not.
only help them from here on, right?
And for parents that are struggling, and this is something that maybe some parents are not aware of, but like in the early intervention world, once your child does start early intervention, if parents want to request like a social worker, that is
Hmm.
also something available to the parents,
Yeah.
for the social worker to help navigate programs, extra resources, not only for the child, but also for the parents,
For them,
because
for
some
their
parents are really,
training.
really do
Yeah.
struggle with this. And
Yeah.
again, if you as a parent cannot get um through this denial stage, or like learn to navigate these emotions, because no, yes, we're going to validate your emotions, this is hard, but you're
Hmm.
not alone. And
Right.
maybe finding support groups, again, the social worker to maybe help you find those support
Yeah.
groups, or anything
Yeah.
to kind of help the family
Yes.
with this new diagnosis, or whatever it may be, but
Yeah.
that is something available to parents as well through early intervention, that
Yeah.
a lot of parents are not aware of. And again, the lack of education, it's real, it's so real.
Yeah, it's also there's a lack of resources. And so I feel like you don't always get all of the info that you need right up front, and
Right.
you have to do a lot of like searching yourself,
Yes.
and that takes a certain level of like commitment. And also, a lot of people don't have the free time. They just don't, and they're looking, maybe they're asking their friends, they're looking for people that they may know who can give them some good information. But that's why I created this podcast. Like, this is all about sharing the information. There's no gatekeeping here. That's why I started the parent session, so that they can feel like they're a community with other parents, and
Mhm.
they could share their stories with one another, and you normalize it. And that takes the shame away from it and makes things easier, because it's like, oh, here goes a place where we can talk about all the things that we go through, and we could get good information, and it helps us to move forward for our child. That way, they're getting the help that they need, whether that's in the medical world or in the education world, or even within the family,
Right.
because the family part sometimes is really hard
Yes.
to deal with, because they're the people who are not going to hold their tongue, and they are going to tell you things that maybe you're not going to want to hear, or they're not going to understand your child's needs, and they're going to blame you sometimes for certain things. Like, I used to get blamed all the time for like babying my kid or something. I'm like, do you think that I enjoy this? Like, do you really think that I want this? Because I don't. Like, if anybody thinks that, like, I'm the type of I'm not like that traditional mother who's like, oh, cleaning up behind her kid and doing no, 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 no. Like, I'm like, let's go, because we have a million things to do. So I need you to be independent, and I need you to be able to like hold your own, because I'm not
Yes.
gonna be behind you doing all of that. Like, definitely my mom was one of those moms, but I'm not that kind of mom, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to give you every chance in the world to become
Right.
independent, because
A
I
hundred
don't want
percent.
you to depend on me. Like, I got my
Oh
own
no.
life going on.
I'm the same way, I think, with my son. I think that we've created a space for him where it's like, okay, we know that you have this going on, but at the
Mhm.
same time, there are certain things that we need to get done. And
Yeah,
whether it's going to take him a little longer to accomplish those things, this is
right,
ultimately the goal, and this is where we're going to get to. Now,
right.
I 100, and like you said, promoting that independence, like, just because he
It's
has
so
this
important.
diagnosis doesn't necessarily mean that he's not able to do these things. He will, and maybe it might take him a little extra time, or a different way, but he'll
Yeah.
get there eventually.
Exactly. And that's a good attitude to have. Like, it's not going to be maybe on the regular development chart. He's not going to hit it there, right? Like, maybe we need to start modifying those things in pediatrics as well, because we always say, yeah, there's that range and stuff like that, but there are some kids that they just need the extra time for certain things. And it's okay it's great actually to have that attitude of like, you'll get there when you get there. I'm not going to like stress you or me out about this, right? You're going to reach that goal eventually, whether it's a few weeks to a few months to a few
Right.
years, and I'll be your cheerleader throughout all of this. And I think it's important for parents to also understand, like, they need to be involved in their child's therapy, not be on the phone during the therapy and
Yes.
not seeing what the therapist is doing, because you're the one that's at home and you're the one who needs to continue this practice when that person is not there, so that your child can reach the goals faster. Like, you can't also expect to put like the whole responsibility on the therapist, because that's just not how it goes. It's like, your child is with you most of the time, right? So you need to be the one, or whoever the caregiver is,
Right.
that person needs to know how to continue this when the therapist is not, around helping the child.
Carryover is so, so vital for the
Mhm.
success, because
Mhm.
you hit it right on the nail. Like, I am with your child 2 to 3 times a week, 30, 45, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
You are with your child 24/7
Yeah.
or close to it, you
Yeah.
know. I'm going to teach you the skills that you can do at home to continue setting your child up for success.
Yeah.
And it's so, so, so important, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and that's, I tell my parents that at the before I even start therapy, I tell them, hey, listen, in order for this to work, we need everybody on board, right? So
Yeah.
if the child stays with grandma or tia or whoever during the day, then grandma and tia also need to know what's going on,
They need to be
so that
involved. Yeah.
we can set this child up to succeed. Because if it's
Yeah.
just me twice a week for 30 minutes, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna work. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not gonna be my fault, it's not gonna be the child's fault. It's just there has to be that constant
Yeah.
carryover, that constant practice. Just like homework. You gotta
Yeah.
do your homework.
Exactly.
You don't do your
Yeah.
homework the next day in class, you're gonna be lost.
You're gonna be
You know?
behind. Yeah.
So
Um,
same
and
concept.
the other thing, because again, you brought this up right now with the how many times a week do I actually see your kid? And maybe it's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an
Right,
hour. An hour is a good amount of time. Like, I
right,
hardly ever see
right.
that. Um, you know, I this is a big one for me. The parents at first can just, whatever they give you, they give you. I personally like to give the kid everything at first. This is me as a doctor. I write for everything. I'm like, give them it, give everything,
Right,
max it out, right? That's me. I know that a lot of people are not gonna receive that from their practitioners, but if possible, try to do that first.
yes,
If it's not possible and they say, well, this is what you're getting approved for, take it, right? And then don't wait too long. If you don't
right,
see any improvement happening, right? Like, give it at least 3 months, right? Give it at least that amount of time. And you can see from there, is anything happening here? Do you see any, like, one, at least one thing happening, right? If you see like absolutely nothing happening, if you don't even feel like this is a good match for your child, right? Because that's another thing
that's
too.
very important
Sometimes
too.
it's just not the right person. Then you need to start like bringing up the conversation of revisiting the goals, maybe maximizing the time, right? Because maybe it's just not enough.
Right,
Or, if you feel like it's not a good fit, then maybe it's time to look for somebody else. I don't like switching people too much. I like to give people at least a good 6 months before I say this is really not a good fit.
right,
Because sometimes it just takes that long, especially with
right.
kids with autism, because they need to warm up to people. They
Build
take a
that
little longer.
rapport. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. But they need to, parents need to not be worried about maximizing that time. Like, fight for it, appeal it. I
yeah,
had to appeal for my son when he got into the school district. When I brought up the fact that, like, oh look, he has fine motor issues, because he didn't have an autism diagnosis at first.
right,
um and when the child study team first did their evaluation, they were like, oh, he doesn't qualify for any services. And I was like, impossible. That's impossible. So I was like, no, I had to appeal it. And then I appealed it, and then they found something. It's like,
right,
yeah, don't give me that.
yeah,
Like, that's
right.
impossible
That
that you didn't
and
find
that
any
was
reason
what
to
I was
become a
saying
therapist.
earlier, you know, and it's kind of just like this cycle, like, oh, they're saying that my kid doesn't have anything, but I know it because XYZ. And then it stresses these parents out, because they want to help their child, and like you said, appeal it, fight for it. You are your child's advocate. Your child doesn't know any better. So if
Right.
you do not arm yourself with the knowledge and that, like, what, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, but that
You
como
have
ese
to find the
coraje to
courage.
like
The
fight,
thing is that
that the courage. There you go.
you
I
need
said
to
it in
find the
Spanish.
courage and the strength, especially if you're a shy
No.
person, because like I'm a pretty shy person. You know, it takes a lot to have to tell an expert or a professional that thank you for doing that evaluation, but I disagree. I
Right,
respectfully disagree.
right.
And I need whatever to be done. You're going to have to reevaluate them or
Right.
whatever it is,
Or
right?
refer me to somebody else, or,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
And it's okay to just be totally respectful and say, I'm sorry, but I disagree. I disagree.
right.
And it's also okay for everybody not to love you in, in whatever
Yes,
capacity, right? I had to learn that too, because I'm a person who likes to be liked. And it was very hard for me to be like, no, this is not all right. And to know now that for the next meeting, there might be a little bit of tension. And, I'm feeling a sort of way already.
right.
Right? And I'm going into this just the way I'm feeling. And I had to learn that a lot of this was me. Like I had to regulate myself. I had to look at myself as a parent and as a person and think like, why is this bothering me so much? Or why can't I speak up? And it was learning how to use my voice effectively. And even though for many years I couldn't use it effectively for myself, when it
Right.
came to being a mom, it was the first time that I learned like you have to use your voice and it's okay to use your voice, and it's not because you're being disrespectful or you're trying to offend anybody, but you're just trying to do the best that you can for your child. um
And that was
and
something that Yamaris brought up at the panel too, when she asked me about the mealtime in a restaurant. And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's why I said, listen, I don't want to sound like I'm being mean, but quite frankly, like, you don't have to explain anything to anybody else. If your
yeah,
child is eating with their hands at a public restaurant, that's not really
yeah,
anyone's business. Some cultures eat like this. So,
right,
you don't really have to explain yourself to everyone. And
yeah,
like you said, it's that regulation of yourself, accepting those emotions yourself, so that
yeah,
you also don't want to like pass that on to your child, because if you're anxious
right,
all the time and nervous all the time, they're gonna
yeah,
feed off of that.
yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, and I'm happy that you brought up the feeding thing because speech and feeding go together, right? It's all the same motor
Yep,
movements that we use, right? All the same muscles and stuff
yep,
like that.
yep.
And yes, like there are so many kids with autism that they have issues with feeding, whether it comes to the textures, flavors. I feel like they love bland things, and
Yes.
that's why they stick to a lot of the carby things, like rice and bread and pasta and stuff like that, which then gets them in trouble GI wise, with the
Mhm.
constipation. And um, it can be a real struggle and a big stressor for parents when their kids are not eating. What are some tips that you give to parents when they have like really picky eaters or, kids that just won't even try like new foods out?
Everything is about exposure. So
Mm-hmm.
the more your child sees something,
Yeah.
one day they're going to touch that thing on their plate, you know?
Okay.
So with every meal, every comfort meal, so if your child only eats white rice,
Mm-hmm.
maybe put a broccoli there, or a
Yeah.
piece of a carrot, something with color, something that pops, something that has a smell, just to kind of heighten the senses.
Mm-hmm.
And just, even if they don't force it, just leave it there
Yeah.
on the plate. And
Yeah.
every day you offer something. If you want to stick with the broccoli for a couple of weeks, because it does
Mhm.
take a number of tries before a child
Yeah.
actually like consumes something. And one day they're gonna get curious and be like, oh, what is this? My mom keeps putting it on my plate, you know?
Right.
And then
Right.
it's the touching, kind of feeling the broccoli, right? And what it
Yeah.
feels like. The next step is smelling. Oh, let me see what this smells like. And then they'll put
Right.
it in their mouth. So a lot of
Right.
feeding therapy starts like that. It's a lot of desensitizing, kind of exposing that child through their hands and through their skin to whatever food
Mhm.
is in front of them. So
Yeah,
that's my
letting them
advice.
feel
Keep
comfortable with
exposing,
it.
right. Keep exposing them. Oh, even if you know 100% they're not gonna eat it, that's okay. Don't make
Yeah.
a gourmet meal that you're gonna have to toss, but one piece of broccoli, one piece of carrot, one piece of apple, a piece of a
Yeah.
banana
Yeah.
every day. Just
A little
explore.
small piece. Yeah.
Just
Nothing that's overwhelming to them,
right,
right?
right.
I also used to ask parents a lot, like just try it in different ways too. Like make a puree one day, season it a different way, all of those things help also because maybe if you just boiled it or steamed it or something like that,
Right.
they weren't that interested in it. Frankly, I'm not either. So, like I'm a person, I like flavor. But so sometimes we got to look for the recipes.
Yeah.
So we got to be a little open-minded to that. But
Just what you don't want to do is mix it with the thing that they do eat, right? So like
right,
if you're gonna
yes,
mix,
you're
don't
gonna
mix like the
separate it.
broccoli and the rice because you know that they eat rice. So if then there's this association like, oh my God, my rice has broccoli, then they might
They're
stop
never
eating the
gonna.
rice, and that's what you don't want.
Right,
You
because
don't
then
want
they're not even getting calories in.
right. You don't want to create that negative like
Yeah,
relationship with the food,
yeah,
like you give them their rice and then the whatever it is that you want to work on, right?
right. Let
And
them like explore, let them have
exactly.
fun.
Yes.
Don't make it
Right.
stressful.
So
Try
because
not
I
to
was
be
like, oh my
stressed out
God,
yourself.
let me
Yeah.
let me disclose that because then it's gonna be a nightmare if you mix the broccoli and the rice.
Yeah. I also say like don't even like take it personally if they'll eat it at somebody else's house and not when you serve it at your house. Like great. If they go to grandma's house
Celebrate
and they
it.
eat it, let it happen. Like,
Yep, for sure.
it's fine. It's fine. We have to like not even judge ourselves for those things. But our food, our culture and our food is a big part of our culture, right? So
Yes.
I see this all the time where like the grandparents get offended that they're not eating, their whatever it is, and I'm like, don't take it personally. It's just, a child who is a little limited in this area, and we gotta like try to allow them to have this time to explore their food and get comfortable with it. And if they enjoy it, great. But because I think, a lot of times, even when they see if there's a family party or something and you're bringing the child's food, it's like, why are you
Yes.
doing that?
What are you
How come
doing?
you never
Yes.
let them even just have it's like,
Yeah.
look, I want my kid to eat today.
Right.
So
Right.
I can't be
Right.
worried about this. And I also want to enjoy the party. So,
Yeah.
in order for me to not be stressed, I brought this, food
Right.
with us.
And then,
Um,
as a parent too, you have to pick your battles. Like you said,
yeah,
like, if you're going to a family function and you want to have fun, you want your child to have fun, is it really worth the fight at this point? Like,
yeah,
it's fine. You bring their food. If they decide they want to eat at the table with everyone else, great.
great. Yeah,
Celebrate that. But,
yeah.
you know, you gotta also pick and choose of what are you gonna,
Yeah.
tackle that day,
Yeah, and sometimes it's like just having a simple conversation with whoever's hosting, like, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up that I'm gonna be bringing this for,
Right.
for
Your
this
child.
person, and I don't even want people to make a big deal out of it. Like,
Right.
don't even look.
Right.
If you don't like it, don't look. Just, it is what it is.
Right.
But I think more of the acceptance needs to start happening also, right? Because we want our family to come to the parties, we want them included. And
Yes.
if you want them to be included and you want them to come over, then you have to be that gracious host who's okay with, them not eating the food that you're serving that day, right? And not making a big deal out of that, and not making the parents feel bad about that, and not making the kid feel bad about that.
Right. Right.
Because there's a lot of that I see and I know and I experience it for myself. And I've done it. I've even done it, like, oh well, just let them try whatever. And it's like, no, they really don't want to, so just let them be, right? So um acceptance is a huge one, where, especially between the grandparents and the parents. I think, we need to let go of that
Yeah.
because there's this level of control that they still want to have,
Yes,
over us, even though we're adults now.
yes,
And, if they're not going to let it go, then just let it roll off your back and be like, yeah, that's just how my mom is. So,
yeah. Okay.
right. We all,
My family's from the Dominican Republic. I was born and raised in the Bronx. My family's from the DR, and I just okay them now. Okay,
yeah, I know
okay.
they hate that at some point too, because they're like, there she goes with that thing that she's always doing. But I'm like, well, you want me here or not? Because I could also stay home. Like I'm also very comfortable at home, but and I feel like that happens a lot. We end up isolating ourselves a lot, and I know I did it for a very long time. Just because it was easier for me, and as a single parent, it was just way easier, than having to bring him to a place where it was going to be too noisy and he wasn't going to like it because we
Stressful.
play
Yeah,
the music loud, and that's just how it is with us,
yeah.
Meanwhile, my kid plays the drums, but I'm like,
Oh, good for him.
but so that doesn't make sense to people because they're like, what are you talking about? Like he plays like the loudest instrument, and then he doesn't like loud music. And I'm like, listen, I hate it myself because I like to listen to my music. I like to blast my music at home,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
can't do that. But meanwhile, he could play the drums, right?
That's
So
so funny.
it doesn't make sense to me, but it's okay with him, I guess, because he could control the
I was
level
gonna
or
say
something.
maybe it's just because he's the one doing it, so maybe
Yeah,
it's a little
yeah,
different.
yeah. So
You gotta just take it day by day,
yeah. Yeah,
and
step by step,
pick
day by
step by step,
day.
and pick whatever battles you're going to tackle for the day, and according to, whatever is aligned for you.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Lenelli. This was a lot of really
Of
good information.
course, my
I
pleasure.
I I would love for you to either like do some Instagram lives with me or some more podcasts because there is a lot to talk about in this area. Particularly, I love that because you're part of the Latino community, that you understand, what our family dynamics are and how challenging that can be, and also how beautiful our culture is, because it really can be really great once there's that level of acceptance. It's like, okay,
Yes.
people could really get on board and do what they need to do for their other family members. But it was wonderful for you to carve out this time to be on the
Thank
podcast.
you.
I know your babies are taking their naps and stuff. They're gonna probably wake up really soon, but thank you so much for being a really good practitioner, right? For being a
Thank you.
really
I
great speech
appreciate that.
therapist. Yeah, I think you have a lot to offer. You have a lot of, the value that you bring to your therapy sessions is really something that I don't see too often. So I'm
Thank
really
you.
proud of you. I'm
Oh,
so proud of you. Yeah,
I
because you're
appreciate that. Thank
starting your own business, right? Talk about it, please. Share the
you.
information.
Thank you. So I have a small private practice. It's called the Vocal Point, and I
Mm-hmm.
provide in-home therapy sessions, primarily in the Queens, Bronx, some parts of Brooklyn. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of a little all over the place, so
That's
um,
great. Yeah.
very excited to embark on this new journey.
Your journey, yes, a whole new
Yes,
chapter of your life. And I think,
yes,
you
for
know, I,
sure.
I wish you a lot of success. I'm gonna tell
Thank
you though,
you.
cógelo suave, because I see you want to be conquering it all, and I think that's a very big trait for women like us, right? Like we want to help everybody and whatever, but you're also a person, and you need to take care of yourself.
Yes.
So because I'm at the stage that I'm at now, when I look back on my younger years, I'm like, my God, I don't know how I did it all, but my piece of advice for you is to carve out time for yourself and to prioritize yourself too.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Because we get so excited about, our mommy stuff, our career stuff and our business stuff. And then, where's Linelli? And I
Yeah.
don't want to hear that you're burnt out later on and stuff like that, because I know I could see it in you. You're a person who has a big heart, and you're
Thank you.
just so dedicated to this work. And I really love that about you, but I just want to give you that piece of advice because I don't want you to lose yourself through it all, you know?
And I
So
appreciate that, and I'm so happy that we met. You know,
me too.
people like you are very inspiring,
Oh,
and I'm
thank
very
you.
happy that we met and that I was able to do this. Like I really
Yeah,
enjoy doing this stuff, and that was one of the biggest reasons why I started my private practice, just because like after becoming a mom, it was, it's a lot juggling work and kids, and the private practice kind of allows me for that flexibility to
good.
be able to take care of them and be at home and still
Yeah.
do what I like to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's good. Make it work for you. That's the most important thing. If you have a business, you have to make it work for you.
Yeah.
And I love that that's the way you're approaching it, not to, get yourself burnt out because I already know that you have your hands in a lot of pots and, yeah, take care of yourself. That's like the best
Yes,
piece of
thank
advice that
you
I could give you. Yeah.
so much.
Anyway, thank you so much. We
Thank you
will
for
be
your
doing
time.
more. Thank you for your time. But I know that we will do some more work in the future.
Yes.
For sure. I think, you're a great person to add to like my parent sessions. I think that would be super valuable for the parents to meet you. So I would definitely be, including you in that if that's something you want to do. But, keep being a really wonderful person and just like a bright light, right, in this community because we need more people like you.
Thank you. And thank you for creating this space. I mean, after the panel and I heard you had a podcast for new parents, I'm like, man, I wish I would have known
I know. Everybody tells me like afterwards that I didn't know that you existed. And I'm like, yeah, I know. This is important work, right? This is
It's
like
just it's hard. It's hard to find reliable information
yeah,
because so many people are on Instagram and on the platforms, and not everybody has the knowledge or the background or the credentials. So it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole with like information that might not always be true. So it's so refreshing to see that you have this podcast, that you have these resources that are trustworthy, that parents could be like, all right, she knows what she's talking about. So that
yeah.
for me as a parent is
Thank
like alleviating. So thank you for creating that space.
thank you. Thank you so much for those kind words. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your family and friends. Also, join me for my group parenting sessions. I want you to be the first to know, so go directly to my website at www.drdivinalopez.com and share your email with me. That way, you'll be the first to know when sessions start. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Dancing into Parenthood and on TikTok at Dr. Divina Lopez. Also, if you like this podcast, please subscribe. That way, you always know when a new episode drops. I love you. Bye.
Please keep in mind that all advice given in this podcast is general information. To understand your specific situation, you must consult with your pediatrician.